Hello and welcome to Esther's Gardening Adventures. I'm Esther, and today I thought I'd show you how I'm trying to pollinate my cucumber plants, which I have been keeping covered with bridal tulle to keep the cucumber beetles out of them and from spreading pestilence on my cucumbers. Last year I grew cucumber plants and the cucumber beetles basically decimated them. They got blight from the cucumber beetles, which they can pass on. I guess it's in there on their feet, or I'm not quite sure how they get it. And then also just the plants were covered in cucumber beetles. So I didn't get one cucumber from my plants last year. So this year I planted my cucumbers, 2 plants. I think straight 8 is the type. I will put the variety up here if it's not straight 8. In the ground, I planted them directly in fresh potting mix that I mixed myself, and I put them in a container. I'll show you here. There they are. This plant right here. I put them in a container with bridal tulle, and then I locked down the edges. I haven't seen any cucumber beetles trying to get into the plant yet, but I have seen squash bugs on the tulle outside of the container, and so far it seems to be doing the job. The problem is, though, that because I have it covered, the bees, and in fact I saw a bumblebee trying to get to the flowers yesterday, the bees and other pollinators really can't get in there and pollinate the flowers for me. And cucumbers produce both a male and female flower. They're kind of like squash, and the squash and zucchini do the same thing. And so you have to hand pollinate. And so I'm gonna share with you my process for trying that. And admittedly, this will be my first year trying to hand pollinate, so I'm not 100% sure how successful it will be. These are the tips that I've heard from people. And you know, it's better than not having any cucumbers, so let's try it. Watching closely, and I'll show you in a second the difference between the 2 types of flower. When you have a flower that has if you can see it there, a cucumber-like shape at the base of it, then that is one that needs to be pollinated. And I have a little paintbrush that I bought when I went to the monastery to do some watercolor painting. And I'm going to go and I'm going to take the pollen from the boy flowers and pollinate the girl flowers. But the first thing I have to do is actually open up my container. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to try to keep a close eye on making sure no squash bugs or cucumber beetles get in here. I read that squash bugs can also lay eggs on cucumbers, so on cucumber plants, and I don't want that either. All right, so the first thing to show you is at the base of this plant here, I have these clips holding down the bridal tulle, and so I'm going to remove those, set them on my table. I'm going to turn this plant around so that the side where the tulle opens up is facing me. Now I have had some pests in here, including one that I don't know how to identify, but it isn't the cucumber beetles, so I'm just not worrying about it. So when I tied up this thing, I actually used a bamboo pole to roll the tulle around to help, what is that? To help seal it up so that the bugs couldn't just like walk in easily. So I'm going to undo that. And now I can get in pretty easily. And while I'm in here, I will probably also trim some of the leaves, the bottom leaves that I haven't done in a while. And look, let me show you. The cucumber vine can get very tangled into the tulle itself to help give it stability. And I don't want to mess with that too much, but I do need to get in here. So the first thing I want to do is I want to find a male flower. How you identify a male plant is to look at the base here, and in this case I'm actually just going to snip this off so I can show you. So you can see at the base of this flower how there's a little stem, and that little stem means it's a boy. And what you can do is you go in, and that little stamen in there has pollen that needs to pollinate the female, and you just rub your paintbrush in there. I can see there's some pollen on the paintbrush. You can kind of see some fuzz on there. I'm gonna go ahead and find the flower that has a fruit at the base, female flower that needs to be pollinated. There you go, that gives you a good look at it. So I'm gonna find another male flower real quick because I'm not sure that I got enough pollen on this, and I wanna make sure we got plenty of pollen for our girls. Now I'm just gonna come over and I'm gonna dab this pollen onto this. Now I don't know 100% that this will work. I did this last year with my zucchini and it worked fine. Okay, now I'm just gonna close her up and I'm done for the day. Let me get my sticks out that I used. I might use a new one this time for some of it. Okay. Okay, so it kind of tightens up when you do that. I just like to lock it in. Now thus far this has worked in keeping out the pests, most of them. And it means that my cucumbers have been able to produce flowers without getting diseased. I may have to open this plant up once they start getting going, just because I probably won't be able to keep up with all the cucumbers and pollinating all of them all the time. But the main idea is, you know, you're never going to make it Fort Knox, right? You're never ever going to have the plant so locked down nothing can get in. But you can make it difficult for them if you need to. All right, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any tips on better ways I can pollinate my cucumber plants or other things having to do with this plant, I would welcome them. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button. If you aren't already a subscriber, please consider doing so. And otherwise, I'll see you next time.